Hello there, all you beautiful people. My name is Lebushki, and welcome to something that's not necessarily a movie review, but it's along similar lines. As a connoisseur of the finest of arts, the finest of films, as a self proclaimed film fanatic, movie buff, you name it, I've called myself it, most likely. I figured I could give a pretty decently definitive list of some of the best movies from this past year. Now, I know I'm recording this in March, so shut up. I'm a little bit late. I tend to make this definitive list around the time the Oscars come out because usually the Oscars have a pretty good finger on the pulse of what movies were really really good. And typically I tend to follow that just as a fingers crossed. I think we're safe to say that, you know, this movie or that movie that I didn't end up seeing was pretty good. So that's exactly what I did. I had a couple more I needed to knock off, and surprisingly, actually, they made the list. So, thank you, Oscars. And yeah, I mean, it's March 2026. So, I'm a little bit late, but, fault me all you will. Just, still get around to watching good movies. That's all I'm going to say. Without further ado, let's dive right in. I want to start off with some honorable mentions. Just because these five here are movies that I really did like. I really enjoyed all of these. And it felt almost unfair to not include them in this list. So we'll start with number 15, The Materialists. Honestly, The Materialists was a movie that just was very heartfelt and honest about, you know, the difference between what your heart and your mind wants in a relationship. While your mind, mentally, you may want someone with money or with status or power, etc. Your heart doesn't always follow that. Your heart tends to follow love more than logic. And I thought it was a really good representation of that, hence the name Materialists, where they're looking, in this case, Dakota Johnson's character is looking at Pedro Pascal and Chris Evans's material worth rather than following her own heart and, going down the path with whichever person she chooses. You have to watch the movie to find out who is who. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers, but that may not always be possible. Number 14, 28 years later. This one was definitely a surprise. I liked the first two. I mean, well, I did like the first. Second one was meh. But this one I liked. I think I liked more than both, honestly. It felt new. It felt fresh. It was shot beautifully. It was a lot better than the first one in terms of technical quality. As much as I kind of enjoy the found footage, VHS tape type style that is applied in 28 days later, I just think the cleanliness, the horror, and all the elements of 28 years later was far better done and far more interesting. Plus, you have a great cast, a great story, and I mean, now that I've seen the Bone Temple, the two just go together so well. Number 13, The Accountant 2. Really liked the first movie, was pretty good, but this one I liked probably a smidge or so more. Just because both Ben Affleck and John Bernthal are fantastic together. They're both great actors, and together they pivot off of one another in such a brotherly way. I mean that they are brothers in the movie, but they pivot off of one another so excellently when they're fighting or arguing or just when they're screwing around. And those strong performances really, really helped hype this movie up for me. Especially since, I love John Bernthal because I am a huge Punisher fan, or at least a fan of the show, Punisher. But, plot-wise, gunfighting, it was all very interesting and very well done. But one of the best elements of this movie was the fact that it managed to insert serious themes of relationship within its chaos, which I thought was just well done. Number 12, Weapons. Huge surprise. Just huge, huge, huge surprise. I thought it was gonna be interesting. Liked the premise, loved the concept. I saw it. Man, what just a truly freaky, creepy, unique horror movie. I've seen my fair share of horror movies, so I'm pretty, on the pulse of when or where a jump scare is gonna be. It's kind of gotten annoying to the point where I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I'm about to get jump scared," and it happens, and like, "Yeah," and I just have no reaction. It's nice to be scared every once in a while. Weapons was that. You just did not know when the horror elements, the jump scares were coming. Everything would be fine, and then boom, there's no lead up. It was just very randomized. And Zach Kreger created such a freaking eerie environment where it's just like a suburban nightmare. And I was just super impressed with the performances, the way the story's told, the acting. It was a movie that truly surprised me in terms of unique horror. And I've loved to see unique horror because in a genre that can, well, in a genre that has what, 7 Scream movies, 13 uh, Friday the 13th movies, a million Halloweens, horror can get very stale. Granted, you might qualify those as slashers, but I still group it under horror as a genre overall instead of getting into the subgenre nitty-gritty. Weapons was a phenomenal surprise. Number 11, One Battle After Another. This one was controversial. It was just barely edged out by I believe it's my number 3 pick in this. It would have gotten number 10, but number 3 came out of nowhere. Complete slapper. I'll say that much. One Battle After Another, great movie, phenomenal movie. Uh, I know a lot of people don't love its political aspects or how it kind of, certainly I can at least see leans to one side. And that's fine. That's kind of part of the entertaining value of movies. But all the performances are so good. Leo is just a crashing out middle-aged stoner. Benicio del Toro is the king of drinking and driving. Sean Penn is just the lord of creepy white supremacy. Chase Infinity is just perfect, caught up in this hurricane of madness. It's just a movie that works so well, and at the same time doesn't work in certain ways. The political aspects kind of bogged it down a little for me, not because I necessarily disagreed with them, but just because there were certain things that just did not mesh well, or I just did not think would happen in that situation. So, like the first third, pretty good, but kind of like, I don't know if that would really happen. The second and second, thirds, the second third, the two thirds, the last 2/3 of the movie. That's what I'm trying to say were great. It blended comedy with like family with action. It it was something that was very impressive. Great score, great performances, pretty decent cinematography, and just very memorable. The amount of times I quote Sensei's, "Have you been drinking tonight, sir?" I've had a few. A few what? A few small beers. Oh my gosh, I laughed in theaters. Peak drinking and driving movie. And that's one of the things that made it rise so high because among its serious themes of like the far extremes of left and right, which I believe is what the movie kind of showcases. Like Tiana Taylor's version is the farthest left you can be, and like Sean Penn's is the farthest right you can be. I think that heart and humor really is what grounds this. And ultimately, it's not supposed to be a political story. It's a story about, kind of family at the end. And yeah, you can definitely see that there's a lot that has to do with like racial tension and stuff. And that might not be for you, and that's fine. But overall, I really liked the movie, and it's one that is stuck in my head, especially that one quote. But that is all. That's it for the honorable mentions. The honorable mentions. My goodness, I could stumble over my words. It's time to move on to the top 10 Lebushki's definitive, and hopefully will stay that way. Top 10 of 2025. So, number 10, Death of a Unicorn. Just to clarify, I put a little blurb at the top to kind of describe it. And then I put its runtime and its rating across Letterboxd, IMDb, and Metacritic, which are really the only three, I guess, professionals' opinions that I listen to. I don't touch Rotten Tomatoes. It's always fixed. It never agrees with anything else, and that's fine. Letterboxd is a bunch of nerds, including me, and that's not a bad thing. And we all love it, so we all go together and we all nerd out, and I get an accurate score. IMDb, pretty 50-50. The Metacritic is also pretty 50-50, but that's okay. And then my opinion, obviously, gave my grade. So all of these, actually, I think yeah, 11 through 15 all are A minus movies in my book. As in, it's very, very strong, has just a couple tiny little things that separate it. So, Death of a Unicorn, number 10, A minus. I really enjoyed this movie. Very Jurassic Park in a lot of its ways, but it's witty, funny, and screwball. As in, it just kind of embraces the insanity of what it is, which is something that A24 does so wonderfully and in such a funny way. I recently watched How to Make a Killing. You'll see a review for that. And it's the same kind of insanity. It's funny, it's unique, it's memorable. And when I finished this movie, I was like, a 2.7? Really? That low? In fact, when I originally watched it, it was at a 2.9. So it's dropped like 2 more points, or at least point 0.2 more points. And I was just like, are you kidding me? This movie's actually really fun. Now, I can understand, maybe it's not the best movie thematically or anything, but it's fun. And all the performances are great. Paul Rudd is hilarious. Jenna Ortega is great. Will Poulter, Richard E. Grant, Tia Leone, just a hilarious cast. And they play their roles of just like being smart or stupid so perfectly. And there's surprisingly a pretty decent, like, loving story at the heart of it. And so I was like, this is a good movie. I don't know what the hate is for, but maybe it's just because, you get associated with A24 making a lot of bangers. So when they kind of flop, such as here, you're just disappointed and you just throw it to the wayside and that's it. And you know what? That's fine. I highly recommend Death of a Unicorn. It's short, it's an hour 47 minutes. You can blast through it quite easily. And it's a unique, weird experience. As I experienced, I do recommend it highly. Moving on. Number 9, Train Dreams. This was one of the ones that the Oscars talked about, that they nominated. And I was like, okay, well, I should watch it because the Academy thinks it's a pretty good movie. So chances are I might like it too. And man, oh man, did I like the movie. It's it's kind of depressing, I'll be honest with you. You kind of have to be in a certain mood for it. It is a soft, sad, reflective, and contemplative drama told through the eyes of a lonely working man. Again, it's a pretty short movie, but after I finished the movie, I was just sad because it's just kind of a guy going through the motions of life, navigating the pitfalls, the pros and the cons, the ups and the downs of existence. And, there's the beauty of the world and of making friends and of having a family, but there's also the sadness of when you lose said friends and said family and all that you've worked for. And Joel Edgerton in it was just, oh my gosh, he just had the perfect sad eyes for this role, and it was such a calming movie. And I honestly feel like if I'd been in the right kind of mood, this could have made me cry, like bawling, crying, because that's the kind of movie it is. But it's soft and it's reflective, and it was just kind of almost like a humbling experience. How people describe The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick, a great movie, by the way, is kind of how I feel about this. Very similar in terms of its beauty and its portrayal of life. So yeah, again, that's only on Netflix. That one I highly recommend that one too. But let's move on. Number 8, Wake Up Dead Man. I like Ryan Johnson. I don't like his Star Wars. I'll just say that. But I loved Knives Out. Glass Onion was okay. I still did enjoy it. So I was excited for Wake Up Dead Man. And wow, was I actually really impressed with this one. It's not controversial to say that the church has a pretty rough image, especially the Catholic Church. A lot of controversy around it. Politics aside, there's a lot that goes under under the radar at the church, and that's not a good thing. That's not what religion or the church is supposed to be. I say this as a religious person, as someone who is Christian, that that's not what the church is supposed to be. And I'm used to seeing the church kind of dragged through the mud in the media because, like I said, politics aside, it's got a pretty dirty hand sometimes. Include politics in that, and it's a whole lot messier. So I was kind of expecting to see the church get dragged through the mud and wake up dead man. I was very surprised it wasn't. It shows two versions of the church. The fire and brimstone that many people associate some churches with, but it also showed the church as it's supposed to be, a reflection of Christ's work on the world. Well, while he was on earth, a ministry to reach out to others, not gear up for battle, but to find those who are hurt and suffering and minister to them and take care of them and show them true Christ-like love. And it was just very impressive because Daniel Craig's character is self-proclaimed atheist in the movie, and Josh O'Connor's character is like the we have to show the world Christ's love character. And it was not only did they work together well, they worked off of each other well, especially as they were differing of opinions. The writing surrounding both of them was just very well done. They had many an intellectual conversation about religion, and it was nice to see religion portrayed in what I believe to be an accurate way. And I'll even admit there are some problems in different churches. Things don't always go over the way they should, and that is a problem. But it is an excellent whodunit that fairly portrays and critiques religion in a fascinating manner. That was my blurb for it, and I stand by it. It shows the pros and cons, the positives and the negatives, and it doesn't try to shove it down your throat. It doesn't try to make you feel a certain way. I felt the way I felt all on my own, and I love the movie. Number 7, Zootopia 2. Very impressed. I don't usually tend to watch or like enjoy kids movies to this degree. I mean, I guess you could call Utopia 2 a kids movie. It's definitely targeted at kids, but it always approaches adult themes in such a unique and interesting way. The first one, let's be honest, was kind of just about racism. The idea that someone is a predator or prey based off of how they look, how they act, how they, you know, stereotypical things. But Zootopia 2 kind of took the idea of the rich and powerful manipulating the masses into hating a certain, not necessarily group, actually, well, in this case, yeah, a certain group of people or a certain person and stealing their designs, their inspirations, their creativity for themselves. So basically, it kind of portrays a sort of vampiricism in this case. And it was very interesting because obviously the bad guy, quote unquote, the bad guy is the snake. So, we all know snakes are venomous or poisonous. So the idea of vampiricism is kind of ironic in this sense, but it's uh, it does such a good job of handling multiple themes. Obviously, it's political theme. It does a great job of handling the main protagonists, Nick and Judy, as they kind of come together as partners, as two people from different walks of life trying to work together. And I think it really does a great job of recapturing what the original had. And that's the fun, the entertainment, the color, the humor, and a really important message that is just prevalent for, it's prevalent now as it was 10 years ago. And the same can be said for the first Zootopia. It's almost like it's ahead of its time, but also behind on its time. It's it's just incredibly well done. And that's something that needs to be applauded and recognized. Number 6, Sinners. This one's a little bit lower than I thought it would be. I love this movie. I think I've seen it like 4 times at this point. It is one of the most uniquely designed. Sorry, I couldn't think of the words. It is one of the most uniquely designed uh Oh my gosh, I'm just out of words. Trying to put Sinners into words is impossible because it has an excellent production, excellent characters, excellent performances, excellent camera work, excellent sound, excellent score, and it's at the heart of everything. It's a horror movie. It's qualified as a horror movie. You wouldn't know that until the final 2/3 of the movie. The entire first third of the movie is just basic going about your day. It introduces these amazing characters and then puts them in a crazy situation. And this movie is entirely deserving of its 16 record breaking 16 nominations for the Oscars. It's truly worth it. I don't think I've ever seen anything like Sinners. And my oh my, I cannot wait to see what this brings home. Michael B. Jordan is great in his dual roles. You can you can see in the physicality and the way he speaks how he characterizes each character. Additionally, Miles Catton, Haley Seinfeld, Delroy Lindo, Wunmi Masaku, they are just all great in their characters. Jack O'Connell, phenomenal as Remick. Again, this is one of the movies I quote at the end of the movie where Jack O'Connell says to Miles Catton, Sammy! I love that. This movie made me like laugh. It made me love this whole like 1920s, 1930s. I'm not sure where it takes place exactly. This whole like prohibition era idea of like cultures coming together and celebrating, but there's still another culture out there that wants to pirate vampire in this case, vampiricism. Actually, that's very ironic. Two vampire movies in a row. Well, Zootopia, not in the same way, but that's neither here nor there. I love that it pits two parties against each other. Africans and the Irish. Two people who have muddied history of, slavery, oppression, because it's so hard to understand that both of them have gone through a lot. And it's really weird because they're kind of pit against each other by the Americans, like the hillbilly hicks as seen in the end. There's a nice little slaughter at the end for, getting rid of the racist people, which is always a hoot to see, I'm not gonna lie. Racism has no place anywhere. It's definitely disgusting and just an abomination to every degree. But it's interesting because at one point, Michael B. Jordan's characters ask the vampires, "Are y'all clan?" And even the vampires are like, "Whoa, whoa, we're we're bad guys. What doesn't make us bad guys? Like that doesn't make us clan. Like it wasn't a race thing. It was we need to feed. Sorry, you're just the best option we have." And it was so interesting to kind of see this back and forth of distrust and just trying to insert yourself into this other quote unquote culture. So yeah, very interesting. Phenomenal movie. Highly recommend. Highly, highly, highly recommend. I haven't seen anything like it. I don't think many other people have either, which is why I'm hoping it outperforms one battle after another. But anyways, number 5, Begonia. Yorgos Lanthimos is a little he's hit or miss for me. I enjoyed Poor Things. I did not think it was as great as everyone made it out to be. I didn't necessarily think it was an Oscar worthy movie either. Lugonia, I think, is a lot more Oscar worthy. It's wacky and wild in all the best ways. Excellent performances from Emma Stone and Jesse Plemons. It's shot well. It's tense. It's it's weird. It's freaky. It's so unique and tells the story of two men who kind of get lost in an echo chamber of the internet and just go crazy, which is unfortunately something that we kind of see nowadays very often. Not necessarily the go crazy part, but the echo chambers of the internet, how dangerous that can be of a thing to trap yourself in, seeing as how it can kind of screw you over and change your way of thinking and thought process and viewership of life. And in this case, that's just fully on display. Additionally, Good Luck Babe by Chapel Roan and uh oh, what's the song called? The Green Day song, the one that said, "Do you have the time to listen to me whine?" Basket Case. Both of those in this was so funny. Just two phenomenal songs that I just did not expect, and they're just here. But yeah, phenomenal production. I know Yorgos Lanthimos has the sauce. I just didn't necessarily see the sauce with Poor Things. The sauce is in Begonia. He's been saving his sauce or putting it aside. Again, just fantastic. Moving on. Number 4, Frankenstein. I'm a huge fan of the novel. I'm a huge fan of Guillermo del Toro. And wow, was I absolutely floored by this. Guillermo loves to do his productions as hands-on as possible, and that's one of the best things about him. If he could sew together every thread of a costume, he would. If he could build every set, he would. If he could build a whole ship, he would. And in fact, he did. This man loves filmmaking, and I respect him immensely for it. And I want him to attack more gothic pictures like this. I am praying. Phantom of the Opera, please, please, please come our way. That movie is great, and Guillermo del Toro is the only one I trust to adapt that again. When I heard that Guillermo del Toro was adapting Frankenstein, I was like, okay, I know Guillermo. He knows how to make something funky and weird. I'll roll with it. Then I saw that he was casting Jacob Elordi as Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein's monster. Frankenstein is not the name of the monster. Frankenstein's the name of the scientist. And I don't know about the rest of y'all, but Jacob Elordi I'd only ever seen in Saltburn and The Kissing Booth. Don't ask why I've seen him in The Kissing Booth. It's a long story. I knew he was in Euphoria, and I knew he could act, but I'd only seen him in weird things. I did not expect him in this role. But whoa, and wow, and how did Jacob Elordi pull this off? I do not think I've seen a better uh, supporting actor this entire year. Jacob Elordi embodies the creature. He embodies this whole idea of enlightenment and learning, taking your first steps as a quote unquote baby, but as this monster. And it's done so beautifully. Mary Shelley was a genius. I read Frankenstein. I love that book. And oh my gosh, Guillermo, you are a beautiful, beautiful man for accurately, as far as I can remember, accurately depicting Frankenstein in a nearly exact way as the novel. Again, I don't remember all the finer details, but from what I can remember, this is pretty accurate. So yeah, it's gorgeous. It's emotional. Uh, I trust my life and my love of movies to Guillermo del Toro. He is phenomenal. Anyways, number 3, and this was the one that pushed one battle after another out of my top 10. Hamnet. I saw the trailer for this in theaters, and I thought it looked boring. I thought it looked boring. I was like, man, it takes a lot to bore me. Even movies that are typically boring, I tend to enjoy, but the trailer looked so boring. And so I didn't bother seeing it. And then it got all the Oscars hype, and I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll watch it. And I did. I've never been more wrong in my life. Hamnet is beautiful. It's one of those movies that makes you feel, that can make you cry. It is just one of the best productions I've seen in a minute. I I actively cried. I actively cried over it. It is an excellent movie. Excellent relationship drama, excellent familial drama, beautifully shot and well done. Jessie Buckley gives the performance of a lifetime. I was sitting on my couch in tears because of it. She was phenomenal. Uh, what's his name? Jacoby Jupe? Phenomenal. I don't know what sauce that kid has as an actor, but we gotta let him keep it. Get that kid in other things because he is fantastic. Paul Mescal, always fantastic, and I just oh, it is one of the most beautifully heart churning and gut wrenching movies I've seen this year, and I'm so glad I ended up seeing it. If possible, I will try to get it in theaters before the Oscars, but that might be a false hope. But man, I was floored, I was stunned, I was appalled in the best way. It's funny because both Frankenstein and Hamnet, you know, movies based off of respective works by Mary Shelley, Shakespeare, incredibly famous people. You always think that, oh, we've milked Shakespeare dry, we've milked Frankenstein dry. Not in the slightest. You give someone with pure heart and talent the ability to make a movie, and they will make a freaking movie, man. Wow. I Hamnet was special. And it was something that brought me down from my high horse of being like, yeah, that looked boring, to just utter tears in my couch. Fantastic movie. Number two, Marty Supreme. I remember initially hearing about this and hearing that Timothy Chalamet was going to be in a movie about ping pong. And I was like, well, that's going to suck. There's no way. I love being wrong. It is so much fun. Marty Supreme is wacky, it is wild, and it is entertaining. Timothy Chalamet is incredibly skilled. He's quickly becoming one of those actors that I just see his name attached to a project and I'll go watch it. I mean, Timmy made his big break for me in the Dune movies. Those were huge surprises for me personally. And Marty Supreme was once again a surprise. I expected to like it. I did not expect it to like it as much as I did. It is thrilling, funny, and emotionally rewarding. It's got a stellar cast, stellar design. It's got one of the most crazy and just like wild narratives of a man doing everything to try and achieve his goal, which includes screwing other people over to the nth degree. It's really funny. It's somehow mesmerizing. It makes uh ping pong interesting. Incredibly so. I would have never, ever, 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 ever guessed that I would be this interested in ping pong. Alas, there I was. I watched it once in theaters and I was like, this is fantastic. I'm going again. And I went like the next week. It's great and it's enjoyable. It is a ride, it is a roller coaster of a movie. And that ending is just so, so perfect. I love Timmy's in this case, character arc. It is, it's something special. It's something unique, and it is just a good movie overall. But it only plays number two, meaning that I have to reveal my number one film from this year. And now I say this not really with any embarrassment, but a lot of surprise because I did not expect it. I didn't expect it. My wife didn't expect it. But my number one most favorite film from this year goes to none other than K-pop Demon Hunters. Yeah, I really don't know what to say. A Netflix original being number one, I'm ashamed. I really am. Again, another quote unquote kids movie. Really? I'm not really ashamed of that. But oh my gosh, K-pop Demon Hunters. It took the world by storm, and it took over my like hyperfixation for an entire couple of months by storm. Beautifully animated, addictive in its songs. I think I've seen it like 4 times. I've watched it back to back multiple times. And it's just something that I kind of put on in the background too. The songs are great, the characters are great. Rumi, Zoe, Mara? I think so. I think that's the name. I can't if I'm fricking it up, I'm gonna be so mad. Rumi, Mara, Zoe. All of them are just incredibly memorable and unique characters with distinct personalities. They're great. It's funny. It's a beautiful movie. Everything is animated to perfection, and it is very emotionally prevalent. The theme of having scars, take uh, quotes around scars, define that how you will. The idea of having scars that you think you need to hide from your friends or your family just because it's embarrassing or they'll think different of you is something that we've all gone through. Our own embarrassing, attitudes, addictions, opinions, we're embarrassed by them. And in this case, Guima, I guess the Satan of their world, like feeds off that, off their embarrassment, off their shame. But you can truly be set free by almost revealing and expressing those things that embarrass you. The first step to like any addiction is acceptance. That like acceptance and the realization and admittance that you have a problem. I know I listed three things. That's kind of all one thing, if you understand what I mean. And so it's emotionally prevalent for adults and kids alike. Kids, when you're going through, I mean, when I was in high school, I went through all the hormones of being a teenager. Man, that sucks. But I still go through crap as an adult. My own embarrassments, my own shames. It's a wonderful movie that portrays what it's like to be human in a way that can appeal to all ages. And that's what I find so impressive about it is that it does that so well. You feel for the characters in a way that, is hard to with an animated movie. But it was making adults cry. I saw it like I was watching online or I was looking on Instagram and everything. And adults are like, "Yeah, don't mind me. I'm just bawling over K-pop Demon Hunters." It's emotional. It's addictive. It's beautiful. It has been a very wonderful year for movies because they have captured the human experience so well as we have been battling the inhuman experience that is AI and all this crap about producing AI movies, AI actors and actresses, all this pathetic company corporate BS that, "Oh, we can't pay real people, so we gotta fake it," and it looks disgusting. Absolutely filthy. These movies have almost come out almost as like, I don't know, almost as soldiers against that to be some of the most entertaining pieces of pop culture within the last couple of years. And I am so happy that I got to see and watch a lot of these. I know both K-pop Demon Hunters and Frankenstein are coming to the Criterion Collection. And well, I'm not surprised by Frankenstein because Guillermo del Toro is loved by the Criterion Collection. I cannot wait to have a Criterion Collection K-pop Demon Hunters. I'm so glad that Netflix is at least making some of its best movies into physical releases. But yeah, that is my top 10 with an honorable 5 movies of 2025. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. As always, movies are meant to be seen in theaters. Go see a movie. Doesn't have to be any of the ones I mentioned here. In fact, they're probably not really in theaters. But go see a movie. The most recent movie I saw was The Bride and How to Make a Killing. Both those are great. Go see them. Go support them. Movies are meant to be seen in theaters. Thank you everyone so much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day doing whatever you shall be doing. And I hope you all take it easy. Take it easy. Watch one of these. Please. Please. They are phenomenal. Love you all dearly. As much as I love these movies. Take it easy. Peace out.